Marvel Legends soulmates, there's been a lot of them in 2022, and there was a lot of good, but there was a lot of bad too. And today, we're going to be taking a look at the bad, and we're going to figure out what are the worst Marvel Legends of 2022. Be sure you stick around until the end, soulmates, because we're going to talk about our honorable mentions before we get to our worst Marvel Legend of 2022. If you support what I do, please click subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine when it comes out. You might want to grab yourself some snacks, maybe a cool drink before we get started, because we're going to be here a while, guys. And with that, let's talk about the worst Marvel Legends of 2022. The fifth worst Marvel Legend of 2022, soulmates, is Speedball from the Controller Wave, and this one was really not very good because, well, one, he's coming on a body already that's just got a bunch of painted details, which, you know, you might expect with a character like this because he's kind of obscure, but also he comes in a package that's really empty, and it's really obvious. I mean, you look in that box, and it's got the controller's torso, and it's got Speedball, but there's an entire quarter of the package that is just empty. Lots of negative space there, and you think they would have included, I don't know, some hands, a special effect maybe, just something to break up the negative space and make it feel like you're getting a little something with Speedball, but no, he doesn't come with anything, and he's still being offered at standard price, which is $25 now, and that's not a small sum of money. That's kind of a lot of money for what Marvel Legends are. It's embarrassing, and it's not hard to see why they're using windowless boxes now, because you look through that window, whew, that is something to behold. The fourth worst Marvel Legend of 2022, soulmates, is Sabretooth from the Bonebreaker Wave, and this one, guys, is one that was really frustrating for me because so many people kept referring to this as the first appearance version. It is not a first appearance version. I need people to stop referring to it as such because it is not. The first strike against this one is the goofy head sculpt that has some resemblance to Willem Dafoe, which is actually kind of funny, but really not a good looking head sculpt for what's supposed to be Sabretooth from his first appearance. You look at him in Iron Fist 14 and he doesn't look like that. He looks better than that. Come on, man. And then the second strike is his body, which is entirely too thin, and I know everyone's saying, oh, he's got a body like that. He's a little bit thinner in his first appearance. No, he's not. He's always been pretty big, he's always been pretty buff, and this one, it isn't really cutting the mustard for Sabretooth. And then the third strike is the fingerless gloves and the toeless boots. I don't know where they're getting these because I have never seen Sabretooth with them ever. Certainly not in his first appearance in Iron Fist 14. He's not wearing those. No. He's not wearing these anywhere around that Iron Fist story where he appeared. So why they're here, I don't know. I have no idea where they're pulling it. It doesn't belong here. Sabretooth doesn't wear that, so get it out of here. Really a frustrating action figure, guys, and one that is deeply inferior to the face-off Sabretooth released by Toy Biz. The third worst Marvel Legend of 2022, soulmates, is the Hobgoblin. This is one that is inferior to its release from 2016 in the Space Knight Venom wave, and the one that we're looking at here is supposed to be based off Spider-Man the Animated Series, or so people claim. The only resemblance this one has to Spider-Man the Animated Series is that it has the same color scheme. Other than that, no, it does not. And it looks terrible too, especially because they took off the arms and legs that were on the original Hobgoblin, you know, the chainmail arms and legs, and then they put on Bucky Cap. Bucky Cap. I can't believe it. Bucky Cap on an action figure in 2022. That's embarrassing. That's shameful. I think one of the most hilarious things about this one is that the Goblin glider is so poorly constructed that the Hobgoblin can't even get his feet on the glider without looking like his ankles are going to break off. So when you see him on the glider he has here, he is seated at a very awkward angle and it looks terrible. And I don't know why they designed it this way, because on the animated series, when the Hobgoblin is riding his glider, his feet are seated about in the middle of each wing. This is a really superficial action figure and a decided downgrade from the previous Hobgoblin that Hasbro did, and it's even a downgrade from the Hobgoblin that Toy Biz put out way back when. They did a couple of Hobgoblins that were better than this. The second worst Marvel Legend of 2022 Soulmates is Gore the God Butcher. This one was kind of a surprise to me when I saw it, and it turned out to be really, really bad because it just does not represent Gore the God Butcher at all. They went out of their way to iron out all the little details that make Gore the God Butcher what he is. And what they did here was they straight out ironed out his details so he looked more humanoid. And that's not great because Gore has a lot of distinctive features, such as his recurved legs, which are not present here. Obviously, if they did recurved legs, they would have had to actually put out some effort on this one when they were making it. Instead, they got to reuse a body here and they just threw some vaguely reminiscent feet that don't really match Gore the God Butcher all that well, and they called it a day. And then on his hands, they also made those humanoid too, when Gore the God Butcher essentially has two thumbs, and you don't see that here. It's just more by the numbers kind of nonsense. On a positive note, the head sculpts look really good, but the body is just awful because Gore the God Butcher, his body doesn't look like this. He's got skinnier legs and he's got a bigger upper body, and it doesn't really reflect that here. Also, a lot of the symbiote details are kind of just painted on his body where they should be 3D details because the symbiote kind of doesn't rest against him all that much in the comic books. It is constantly writhing against his skin and stuff, and it just doesn't look good here. This is one of the highest profile Thor villains in a long time, and the fact that they couldn't really be bothered on this one is just really embarrassing. And it's really too bad too, because as far as Gore the God Butcher action figures go, this is pretty much the only game in town at the moment, so if you want a Gore the God Butcher action figure, this is it, and Hasbro couldn't be bothered to get the details right. Well, Soulmates, we're most of the way through our worst of 2022 list, and now it's time to talk about our honorable mentions, so get ready guys, and let's take a look at the ones that didn't quite make the list, but turned out to be not so great in their own right. Our first honorable mention for the worst Marvel Legend of 2022 Soulmates is the 90s animated Spider-Man action figure that was a Walmart exclusive, because this one was insanely difficult to get for no reason at all. This is an obvious slam dunk and one that people really, really wanted. Unfortunately, the moment it went up for pre-order, it disappeared, and then it never really appeared again. Not only that, but after all this time, when pre-orders weren't working and the window has now closed, Spider-Man is now showing up in Walmart stores. That might sound pretty good, and I suppose it is if you find him in stores. The problem is that Spider-Man was supposed to be an online-only exclusive. So yeah, that didn't really pan out, now did it? Now, aside from all the difficulties with Walmart, this one had an issue with his arms that was kind of odd because it looked like he was using Renew Your Vows Spider-Man's arms, which made him disproportionate because Spider-Man from Renew Your Vows is a little larger with bigger arms, whereas the Amazing Fantasy body that this one mostly uses is a much smaller body. And besides all that, for some reason they decided to add cell shading to this one, which is a strange choice indeed because none of the other Spider-Man action figures in the retro line are cell shaded. Just a lot of bizarre decisions all around, and I can't figure out why they're doing what they do, but it's landed this one here on an honorable mention for the worst of 2022, and well, bad job here, Hasbro. And with that, Soulmates, it's time for our number one worst Marvel Legend of 2022, and this one is Silvermane from the Spider-Man 5-pack Amazon exclusive box set. This one is really staggering in its poor quality, because this one is just a glorified kit bash that customizers would put together because they didn't have any better options. What they've done here is they've taken a Silvermane head from a Speed Demon action figure that was released back around 2016, I believe, and they put it onto a Beetle/Ultron body, and it's not good, because this is not Silvermane. Silvermane does not look anything like this. There's no point in listing all the inaccuracies on this one, because the whole thing is inaccurate. Everything about it is inaccurate, so all you gotta do is take a look at a picture of Silvermane, compare it to this, and yeah, you know it's wrong. But they released it anyway in this 5-pack, which cost $127.99, and that's not cheap. That's quite a bit of money. That's over $25 an action figure. And this is what you're getting for your money. No, this is garbage. This should never have seen the light of day. This should have just been a joke in a meeting somewhere, and that's where it should have stayed. But instead, here it is, seeing the light of day, and I'm just appalled by the quality of this. I'm appalled by the staggering disregard for Silvermane's design, and honestly, it feels like a lack of respect for the fan base that they would even put this out, because if you're a Spider-Man fan, you know it's not right. I truly hate this release, and I refuse to recognize this as an official Silvermane release. To me, I don't think Silvermane has been made yet, and that's the way I'm going to keep it. Well, Soulmates, what did you think of this list? Is this one that you mostly agree with? Are there some you agree with but not others? Or do you have entirely different choices for the worst of 2022? I don't know, guys, but be sure you let me know down in the comments what your worst Marvel Legends of 2022 are. If you'd like to check out the best Marvel Legends of 2022, you can watch that video here, Soulmates.